Greetings! This is Soargen Next from the blog Generation Next at soartothemax.wordpress.com. I know it's been a month since I posted, or nearly a month, but I'm back and I'm here giving you new content. So, people often say that dolls can influence the children playing with them. As a huge doll enthusiast, I can agree with this to a certain extent. It's amazing how a plastic item can make such an impact on a child. I've had dolls that really shape my view of the world, and I've seen dolls shape other children around me. With that being said, I understand why parents, particularly mothers, are so concerned with how dolls influence or shape the lives of their children. However, I can honestly say that kids view things from a different perspective than adults. While mothers might think a doll brand will influence their child in one way, the child may pick up a completely different message depending on the other surrounding things going on in their lives. I can honestly say that has been the case for me. Growing up in the 1990s and early 2K, we didn't have the technology these little kitties have. We had toys. And in the 1990s, toy aisles had anything a kid could ever want to play with. They were filled to the brim. My parents encouraged me to play at a young age. I was a shy, antisocial kid who didn't like playing too much with the neighbors' kids. Toys were my escape. My mother, along with other family members, always tried to find the best toys for me. My family always considered how each toy would impact my life, but they never knew exactly how that would occur. Toys became an integral part of my life. Being raised a girl, my parents and grandparents always saw it fitting for me to play with dolls. Early on, my mother encouraged me to be feminine. She would encourage me to play with the most pro-girl and pro-feminine dolls she could find. She was that way. Little did she know I would grow into a tomboy who loves androgynous fashion. My other family members, like my grandparents, also tried to find dolls that instill values in me. So with my family members encouraging me to play, you can imagine I had a lot of toys, especially dolls growing up. Still, you might be wondering, how did those dolls influence you to the point they impacted or shaped your life right now as an adult? Well, let me run down 7 dolls I played with as a child that shaped my life today as an adult. When I mention how they influenced me, you might understand more. I would do a countdown style. Ready?
Kenya, just like me, Kenya. Her curly hair is great, magic lotion makes it straight.
Created by Tycho, Kenya was a doll that promoted the beauty of African American girls' hair. Her slogan was literally, the beautiful hairstyling doll. You could style her hair just like you do yours, African American girls. This was probably one of the first pro-black dolls I saw on TV. Seriously, all of the dolls that came out of the Kenya brand were images of black girls. When I first saw Kenya in the commercials, the thing that stood out to me as a kid was how her hair could be styled to look just like mine. To me, she looked like my vision of a real girl. A real girl in my mind was someone who looked like me. It's kind of how I feel about American Girl's Melody now. You know, Kenya was the Melody of the 1990s. Though technically Melody's from the 1960s, but whatever. Kenya was more of a modern girl that encouraged me to love myself. And I could feel that message as a kid. She was actually one of the first black dolls I was exposed to, and I loved that doll. I played with her every day. I even tried to draw my own tattoos on her, which didn't turn out too good, but at least she was loved. I think having a doll like Kenya did something to me. For starters, it exposed me to the country of Kenya. Because in school, when we were studying countries, I never forgot about the country of Kenya because the Kenya doll had the same name. Irony. Every time the teacher would ask us to name one country in Africa, I would always remember Kenya. And I still remember that country to this day. I paid a lot of attention to that lesson, and now I know so much about the country. I've done so much research, and that has been the gateway to learning more about the country of Kenya. Then, Kenya helped me love being black with thick hair and made me desire more black dolls. I think after seeing Kenya, the generic white Barbie wasn't satisfying enough. I began looking for more diverse brands with dolls that looked like me. Kenya made me aware of the underrepresentation present in the media because I couldn't find any other dolls like Kenya. I always wanted to braid my doll's hair and put beads in my doll's hair. There were few dolls that offered that. Seeing Kenya take that spotlight helped me see the beauty in being African American. I think that's why I push for representation and equality to this day. The only thing I never loved about this doll was the commercial. It was basic and cheesy then, and it still is. Like, oh my God. Anyway, I heard Kenya made a comeback sometime in 2012. She came with more modern clothes and more diverse skin tones. I heard she even came with the 12-inch Barbie looking type. Kenya is still making waves trying to push representation, okay? She's still making those waves. And so I am proud to have been a Kenya owner. I think that she has been a major influence in my life and has influenced what I've been collecting as far as future dolls go. I have to give it up to Kenya. I'm sure most of you guys know nothing about this 18-inch doll brand. It didn't even come with a commercial or anything fancy, though they had a website back in the 1990s, which was a big deal back then, but I didn't have a very good computer in the 1990s, and the internet was dial-up. If you grew up in the 1990s, maybe you got one of their catalogs. Created by the company of the same name, Global Friends Company, Inc., it spawned a brand of around 12 to 13 dolls, all from different parts of the world. Their collections and accessories centered on their cultures and their friendship through the Global Friends pen pal service set up online. At that time, the computer was just becoming a household item, and their internet was the newest advancement. With the internet age, people were able to connect with other people from all over the world. I remember when I was in 4th grade, I got my first online pen pal. She came from a different world. That was so amazing to me at the time. Now I connect with people all over the world all the time. It's not as much of a novelty, but back then, that was wow, an amazing thing. This brand was trying to encourage girls to connect with girls of different cultures and backgrounds. It was a brand trying to expand the minds of girls. Like the other 18-inch dolls of that time, they were part of the 18-inch doll trend, though they were technically around 14 inches. They were meant to look like real girls and were sold only by mail order catalogs. That was the allure of these dolls. They were exclusive and expensive, yet educational and wholesome. Unfortunately, I never got to buy a Global Friends doll until I was an adult. However, I always got their catalogs in the mail and would flip through them for hours. Though the dolls may have highlighted mostly stereotypical forms of girls from around the world, because they kind of focused on, like their collection focused on like festivals or important holidays or famous holidays in those countries. But they were the first dolls that got me interested in other cultures and traveling. The dolls looked so pretty to me and the outfits were bursting with color. The diversity was fulfilling. It filled my eyes up like eye candy, Basically, these dolls at least exposed me or became a gateway to the world. The one thing I remember most about the dolls was their greeting printed next to them in the magazine. I literally learned how to say greetings in many different languages because of this brand. Gretchen from Germany was first, so I always remembered Guten Tag, which means good day. I always remembered Jambo, Ni Hao, Oi, Alan, Dobry Bien, Bonjour, Konnichiwa, among others. I may not have learned how to properly pronounce these greetings, but I learned of them. Okay, it was an introductory exposure to other cultures, and it worked. The brand expanded my worldview and got me thinking about how other people live outside of my existence. I think ever since I got into these dolls, I developed a desire to travel and meet people from so many different backgrounds. I still have that desire, and I want to take the greetings I learned with me. Amazing Amy, the interactive doll by Playmates Toys Inc. with over 10,000 phrases. This company had a lot of interactive dolls come out of it in the 1990s and early 2K era. And oh no, I can't forget about Amy. I still have the commercial jingle lodged in my head. Amazing Amy, how does she know? And she responds, I just know. Of all the dolls I grew up with, this doll actually had quite a negative impact on me. Maybe most of us have had a negative fear of dolls before, right? Especially fearing dolls that talk. I know people who have doll phobias. I've never really hated dolls, neither have I been scared of them. Toy Story might have scared my friends, but it didn't scare me, okay? But then came Amazing Amy. Amazing Amy was battery powered and mechanical, which was becoming a thing at the turn of the 21st century. She had her own clock, which could be set to the player's specifications. She came with lots of accessories. She was blonde and wore pink. I was told she had a black version, but I knew about the blonde one from the commercials, okay? Quite frankly, I'm glad I didn't get the black doll. If any doll wanted to influence me to form self-hate tendencies, it would have been the black Amazing Amy, okay? This doll was the most annoying piece of plastic ever to come into my life. I first saw her in a commercial and thought it would be cool to have this cute doll that could talk to me. I thought it was appealing to be able to take care of my own daughter. Appealing, so I thought. Amazing Amy came with some pretty cool accessories too. She had a toothbrush, a partly chewed popsicle, a bottle of milk, hot dog, juice, pizza, a banana, a cookie, and a plate of disgusting looking mashed food. She liked to play Simon Says, Feed Me Something, and her squeeze games too. She had a dress, diaper, and pajamas. Oh yes, Amazing Amy was going to be my daughter. It didn't matter to me that she was white and blonde in comparison to her black mother. I was excited to have my very own daughter. So how did this cute and interactive doll shape my life negatively? Maybe it's not all negative to everybody, but I believe Amazing Amy is the reason I resolved in my heart at a young age that I never wanted kids. To this day, I not only take motherhood seriously, but I have no desire to have a baby too soon. On the plus side, I think that's why I avoided teen pregnancy. When I got this doll at 8 years old, I was not ready to take care of a baby. Having Amy around and turned on was like taking care of a baby. Once you set her clock in the middle of her body and turned her on, her slogan took full effect. She knows what she wants and how to ask for it. At first, I enjoyed taking care of her needs and feeding her. Her sensors would glitch, which would be annoying, but overall, I enjoyed giving her what she wanted. Well, one night, I forgot to turn Amazing Amy off. All night, Amy kept asking for food, to play a game, to get her hair brushed. I was knocked out asleep. Okay, I was in, third grade, trying to get my Z's, trying to get up in the morning. Well, Amy cried. She cried so loudly, it sounded like an alarm clock piercing through the night. She woke me up at 4 o'clock a.m. so that I could change her diaper, feed her, and play games with her. Then she glitched. So she started crying again. When I turned her around to turn her off, the button was stuck on on. I tried taking out her batteries, but it was hard for my little hands to get the back open. So she cried and cried. Eventually, frustrated, I snuck in the kitchen, picked out a fork, and pried out her batteries. Once those batteries were out, I never put them back in again. The next day, I was so tired I couldn't stay awake at school. My mother asked me why I was so tired. When I told her Amazing Amy kept me up all night crying, my mother laughed and said, imagine a real baby, but with your own, you can't just take the batteries out. That statement stuck with me. So now every time I even think of having a kid, I think about how hard it was for me at the time to take care of that annoying, expensive little dog. Now that I'm older, I'm wiser, but I still understand that taking care of a child is no glamorous or easy task. Amazing Amy definitely taught me that at a young age. Whenever my friends would say they wish they had a baby sister or a baby, my mind would flash back to this doll. I'm having flashbacks, okay? In some ways, I'm glad it taught me to take parenthood seriously, but when I'm interacting with others who really want children, I might not sound the most positive. Yeah.
Oh,
has impacted thousands of girls the world over, including this girl. Barbie is the world's #1 fashion doll. Created by Ruth Handler while on vacation in Germany and produced by the company Mattel, her husband's company, Barbie was meant to be a challenge to the baby doll industry and a response to the growing love of adult paper dolls. Ruth Handler wanted to create an actual plastic figure of famous comic and paper doll characters because she noticed her daughter preferred them to the baby dolls, to the 18-inch dolls and the other dolls that related to girls at the time. At the core, Barbie was meant to be a doll young girls could admire and dream of being one day. She fit the American ideal: white, blonde, beautiful, stylish, wealthy, glamorous, and forever young. Did I mention suburbanite? No, I don't think I did. I grew up with her in the 1990s when she'd already had a huge empire and had expanded beyond the fashion world. Barbie could do and be anything by the 1990s. That's the vision they sold us. This blonde adult figure inspired a lot of playtime out of me growing up. I would always pretend she was my mother. She reminded me a lot of her. My doll was white, my mother was black, but they both were stylish, career-oriented, and could do things I couldn't at my age. Interestingly enough, Barbie's fashion sense never appealed to me. I didn't like her for her fashion. That's the interesting part. I liked her for all of the many items she came with. Like, for example, my teacher Barbie came with a chalkboard, mini chalk, and desks. I always thought it was cool how I could create my own classroom in a mini-sized version. Or like in Hula Hair Barbie, how her hair would change colors. And, I always liked the little things that Barbie came with. So how did Barbie come to influence who I am today? How did she influence a messy tomboy like me? It might shock you. But Barbie influenced me in a lot of different ways than how she may have influenced other girls. The first way she influenced me was she ushered me into the technology age. Yeah, she also expanded my interest in dolls. I have to give her credit for this. So how did she usher me into the technology age? Okay, let's go back to that. When we first got a computer in my home, one of the first websites I knew about was Barbie.com from commercials. I can't even find that commercial anymore. The jingle went like, what can you be there? What can you see there? Now you can be there. And something like that. So, anyway, Barbie encouraged me to navigate the internet. It was the first website for dolls I'd ever heard of, okay? Barbie also introduced me into video games. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I had always watched my young uncles and cousins play video games, but I didn't have a system or games of my own. My mother and grandmothers didn't think it was a suitable toy for girls. I would try to play games like Mortal Kombat and NBA Sports at arcades or at restaurants or laundromats. But when I first got my PlayStation, the first game I played was Barbie Race and Ride. By playing this game, I learned the mechanics of the PlayStation system. So eventually I moved on to more advanced games from there, like I loved Crash Bandicoot and Spyro games, Tekken and Street Fighter, and eventually RPG games like Kingdom Hearts. It was because of Barbie that I fell in love with video games. I still love video games to this day. And even though that game is probably like nothing to people today, like it's not even fun, it's like boring to most people, that game was the everything to me, okay? It was the everything, okay? I also used to play Barbie Super Sports, which was a little more challenging than Race and Ride, and Detective Barbie. The most fun Barbie video game I played was a PC CD-ROM game called Secret Agent Barbie. That was my first PC game. I wish I could still play that game. It's not compatible with anything nowadays, but that game was so fun for me. In all honesty, Barbie made me into a gamer girl. Let's just be real. Barbie also got me interested in diverse and unique dolls. Surprise! A lot of dolls have claimed to have been the first major diverse dolls out there, but Barbie has always had sister and spin-off brands that focused on a group of diverse dolls. Generation Girl was about 8 best friends from different backgrounds and cultures who attend International High. Diva Stars was also a diverse brand, and probably the first I saw with the big head and big feet design. Polly Pocket was probably the first I saw was innovative. That was the first, pocket-sized dolls that I've ever seen. My scene was stylish and mature. Even to this day, Barbie sister brands Monster High and Ever After High continue to produce diversity. Going to Barbie's website, I was able to get in touch with the other lovable brands. Barbie's Mini World inspired me to look for more out of my collections. She pretty much set the bar for how far a doll line could expand. Barbie has had it all. I can only be impressed by how much this doll brand has accomplished for over 50 years. It's amazing. The appeal of Barbie was that I could be in a lavish mini world I wouldn't naturally be able to afford in real life. I could be anything when I had Barbie. Barbie developed my interest in building a career, believe it or not. I always had working women around me. I didn't have the privilege of a stay-at-home mom. My mother had to work. Barbie made that seem okay for me. Through Barbie, I could always pretend she was in a career. She had so many career options in the 1990s. I believe she inspired my ambitious nature. Barbie may have had an influence on me, but she didn't turn me into a materialistic and superficial broad. She may have done that to some kids, but not me. But little did I know, I would take this influence and drive it towards a rival brand. Oh, the Magic Attic Club. This club was like the Babysitter's Club of the 1990s, only it dealt with magic and younger girls. But it was the club every girl wanted to be in. Magic Attic Club inspired me in many ways, but also taught me valuable lessons. Let me explain. Magic Attic Club was following the 18-inch doll format. They were sold by mail order catalog, were expensive and exclusive. They were cheaper than the American Girl dolls though, Unlike American Girl, Magic Attic Club was a modern and more fantastical line. They came with a series of books that followed the characters' adventures through a magic mirror that would allow the characters to explore their imagination. The adventures they would go on would also teach them how to deal with their everyday life, though the things they go through might seem minor in comparison to like American Girl. Magic Attic Club dolls passed through the hands of many companies before retirement. They were first sold by Georgetown. They filled the gap American Girl didn't fill at the time. They produced modern girls, while American Girl still primarily sold historical dolls at the time. Eventually, Magic Attic Club went to Knickerbocker and Last Marion, which was a company created by actress Marie Osmond and her husband Brian. If any of you guys know who that is. Magic Attic Club influenced my life in 5 ways. First, Magic Attic Club got me interested in the fantasy genre. Magic Attic Club was able to be and do anything. At 10 years old, I was always excited about whatever adventure they would go on, and the outfits they came with. They were just bursting with color and luxury, even though some people claim that they were of cheaper quality, but in my mind, in my eyes, in my childlike mind, they were the bomb, okay? I'm using 90s word, the bomb, okay? I think the mystery behind the magic mirror was so intriguing that I long for that mystery in other genres. To this day, my interest in the fantasy genre has expanded. I enjoy Harry Potter, Circle of Magic, Jewel Princesses, Peter Pan. I got into a lot, okay? Second, Magic Attic Club made me realize indigenous people still exist. Not as a foreigner, but in my own country. Yes, I was an ignorant little child back then. I used to see indigenous groups as groups belonging to the past. I didn't realize that there were still people from these groups. Even little girls like me living modern lives while trying to hold on to their ancestry. Rose Hopkins, the Cheyenne girl in the Magic Attic Club, taught me that. To this day, there are still very few doll lines that have a modern doll representing the indigenous groups of people. Ever since I was introduced to Rose, I have felt she was a rare gem, and I have looked for that kind of representation in every doll line. Rose is a rare exception. I haven't seen it in any of these doll lines that claim to be about diversity, except in the Magic Attic Club. And then what made it better was Rose was also one of the most gorgeous dolls in the brand. Global Friends also had an indigenous doll, but at the time it didn't dawn on me that the character was American. Unfortunately. And that's because all of those characters seemingly came from different countries. But Rose was like that girl. She was that girl. She was like, okay, she's modern. She's like me. She thinks and feels like me. She's not just a good girl out of a history book. There are actual Cheyenne girls still living, still thriving on the computer, playing soccer or football like the rest of us, okay? So third, let me go into the rest of how Magic at a Club influenced me. Magic at a Club taught me to shut my mouth and stick with real friends. Oh my God, I know you might think, what, wait, how does that have to do with this brand? Okay, so let me explain, let me go into it. When I was younger, about 8 years old, that was the one time in my life I wanted to fit in with the other girls, okay? I had so many popular girls in my class. They were kind of mean and stuck up to some of my other friends, my real friends. I used to be like a loser or an outcast because I would hang out with the underdogs, I would hang out with people that maybe the other kids thought were weird. And I hung out with them. But one day, I've been talking about the Magic at a Club. All the cool girls like Magic at a Club because of how exclusive and pretty the dolls were. These were one of those expensive dolls, and they were kind of the most stylish 18-inch dolls out at the time, though I think they were technically 18-inch, but yeah. These popular girls found out I loved Magic at a Club, knew a lot about the dolls, and let me be a part of their clique because of it. So me, being a fan of Magic at a Club, would share fan info with these girls, insider knowledge. At that time, they were giving me some attention, and I liked it. I knew a lot about the Magic at a Club, okay? Things that they didn't, because I had just all the magazines and the books and things like that. Eventually, though, that popularity started dying down, and they started cooling off for me. So I guess all they had in common with me were these dolls. So what did I do? What did I do? I came up with the biggest and stupidest lie. I told them that my grandmother works for the company that makes Magic at a Club dolls and that she can get them dolls for free. After that, the girls came back around me. But see, I had to keep up with this lie. The girls kept pressuring me and asking when they would get their dolls free, when they would get their free dolls. I had to keep pushing back the date to make it believable. Eventually, one of the lead girls got suspicious. So she came up to me and said, "I don't believe your grandma works for the company." I tried to defend my lie. I tried. And I managed to defend this lie up until I was 10 years old. So that means we're going from 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, okay? And I finally confessed eventually when I was 10 because I was like, this is a dumb lie that I told when I was 8. I finally confessed that my grandmother didn't work for Magic at a Club and that my grandmother just happened to buy me 2 dolls and books, which most of the other books I got from the library. So obviously, this made me the bum of my elementary school days. And I deserved it. I deserved it. On the other hand, my real friends stayed by me and liked me for who I was. From that Magic at a Club encounter, I learned that you can't buy friendship, and I learned to shut my mouth. If I can't speak truth, I don't need to speak. I learned not to lie about who I am. And every time I look at the Magic at a Club dolls, it's a reminder to be true to myself, to stick with my real friends, okay? The fourth way Magic at a Club had an impact on me was it actually got me interested in doll fashion. Yes! The one thing Magic at a Club had over all the other 18-inch dolls, like I said, of the time, was they were girls my age that wore trendy and modern clothes. They were the first dolls that got me interested in the fashion aspect of doll brands. Beforehand, I just liked the stuff dolls came with. Okay, Magic at a Club had an array of different outfits and clothes, but they were also on trend in my eyes. Barbie was fashionable, but she was an adult. She wore old people clothes, okay? The MAC were wearing clothes I could wear and wanted to wear. My interest in their fashion expanded my interest in fashion dolls in general, even though they weren't fashion dolls. Last, Magic at a Club has influenced my summers. Magic at a Club always reminded me of summers spent with my great-grandmother, who I would visit every summer. When I was younger, I couldn't afford all the Magic Cat Club books, let's be real. However, during the summer, my great grandmother would take me to the library and I could find all of the MAC books. I would check them all out. The librarian knew which books I would get every summer. Eventually, this turned into a tradition. Every summer, even up into high school, I would check out the Magic Cat Club books and read them every summer that I would visit my great grandmother. Eventually, the library closed. I also couldn't spend as much time with my grandmother, but I managed to buy all of the ones in print. Still looking for Jane and the Land of Enchantment. I still read them every summer. Summer doesn't begin for me unless I read these books. Having the dolls also remind me of those lovely summers. Overall, the Magic Cat Club dolls have had a profound impact on my life. The American Girls dolls come from a brand focused on educating and inspiring girls through play. They come with a line of historical characters and modern characters fleshed out through dolls, accessories, and books. Through story time, their characters help girls face the real world around them. Honestly, of all the 18-inch dolls, American Girl was the first to do this and has always been the most effective at this. American Girl was originally produced by Pleasant Rowland through Pleasant Company. It was designed to combat Barbie's influence as an adult figure and bring back dolls that look more like real girls. It also bounced off the popularity of the Little House on the Prairie, which had been popular decades prior due to the TV series. The dolls were meant to help connect girls today with girls of the past, to bridge generations of girlhood, tell history from the female perspective, and inspire future leaders. Ironically, Barbie's parent company, Mattel, ended up buying American Girl. American Girl continues to educate and inspire girls, though. This company definitely inspired me. I got into American Girl in 1995 with the books I would get from my school library. I received my first American Girl doll in 1997. At that time, the modern girls were just becoming a thing. American Girl influenced me tremendously. First, this doll brand inspired my love of history. It was the gateway to learning the important events in my country. And as they say, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. I think American Girl encouraged me to appreciate the place I live and even to appreciate the histories of other countries. American Girl made history come alive for me and made history fun and appealing. In school, I always got A's on my history test. I would win history B's in competitions. American Girl didn't have all the answers, but they were the only books telling history from an everyday perspective, not from one of those glamorized and overdramatic perspectives, from one of those crazy historical perspectives you would see in history books. They would go over things about history I honestly never heard of, like what foods people ate and what clothes they wore. What did kids learn in school? But most history books, they barely scrape by. They just talk about the event. They never tell you, what kind of schools kids went to, or how they were treated in school, or what kind of foods they ate, what lunch did they take to school. There was hardly any history books talking about that. And this was before the internet, okay? So after American Girl, I literally got interested in how people live. Not just in my country, but in other countries and in other people's histories. American Girl is the reason I have the job and career I have now. I was inspired to get into education. I was inspired to build up my own community of African American children and help them value education. Addie was my first American Girl, and she made slavery and Reconstruction even more real for me. I'll never forget when she got her freedom and she still had to build her life. It wasn't a walk in the park. The books were so real for me, not cheesy at all. I currently work with Black children and I try to get them into their own roots in history. I try to inspire them the way American Girl inspired me. I wanted to give back. American Girl showed me the importance of doing that. American Girl instilled some really strong morals and character traits in me, I feel. I think the brand helped me develop courage, a spirit of adventure, open mindedness, kindness, compassion, sacrifice, strength, and determination. Whenever I thought my life was hard, I would think about girls who came before me who had it harder. I try to live up to the qualities that they instill. I try to live up to those qualities every day. I think American Girl helped me see the importance of developing these qualities early in my life. You know, having the dolls really made history real for me. You know, I could pretend to be from a different time and place, a different race or culture, and through that playtime, I learned to understand people and I learned to understand life. I've learned how to cook foods and prepare them in ways different from my own. I've learned to study the way people dress and live. I've learned to melt my own prejudices when seeing someone different. I definitely learned to transcend myself. Perhaps my favorite non-black characters are Kaya, Kit, Molly, and it doesn't feel like American Girl without Felicity. I'm still into the brand and have loved newer dolls like Melody and Julie. I do hope to have a 1920s character soon as well. That's on my American Girl wish list. Through these characters, I feel like I've lived several lives, and I think that's what the brand has been trying to do for young girls. You know, I feel like I'm recording a brand ad or something right now. Like, I'm promoting American Girl. You know, when I was younger, I just feel like one of those brand ads. Anyway, American Girl also helped me connect with my elders. By learning about times in the past, I knew about some things my grandmother and great grandmother enjoyed. You know, my great grandmother always felt she could talk to me because when she did, I knew what she was talking about and showed interest. It helped me bond with my family. I was able to appreciate doing things with my grandparents and my mother, things a normal child wouldn't find interest in. You know, I think it helped me respect women of all ages and what they have done for me. You know, American Girl showed me that women can be strong leaders, and I take the lessons from the brand with me into my adulthood. Bratz is a brand of cutting-edge and fashion-forward dolls that arrived shortly after the 21st century began. These dolls were meant to make the beginning of a new century, and they did that for me. They did that. Just when I was losing interest in playing with dolls and was growing into a tween collector, out came the Bratz. The Bratz were created by designer Carter Bryant, freelance designer on break from company Mattel, and produced by MGA Entertainment. I got into the Bratz late 2000 when the website was under construction. Most of my followers know the story. I was actually looking for new dolls to get into, something interesting. I had been looking for a particular doll when I accidentally typed in Bratz. When I pressed the link and saw the website under construction, I thought it was going to be some kind of fashion cartoon, which I thought would have been awesome. A few months later, the first Bratz commercial hit the scene, and I was a different girl. The rest was history. You might be wondering, how can a line of fashion dolls top a girl empowering line like American Girl? I didn't think that could happen either. At the time I got into Bratz, I was what most people considered too old for dolls, especially during the surge of popularity Bratz received in 2004. I was a teenager by then, okay? The first thing Bratz taught me was that you're never too old to like dolls. Bratz was set to target girls like me. I soon realized that. When I first heard Bratz was meant to target girls my age, I was shocked and excited. I knew that something different was brewing in the toy industry. Bratz truly made me a collector. I loved dolls before. You know, I used to play dolls. But the clothing, items, and edge was so inspiring. I actually saved my money and bought even the hardest to find dolls if I could find them. And with these dolls, I didn't want to play with them. I needed to have every single item. I didn't want anybody else playing with them. Okay? Because some items you couldn't get anywhere. Okay? That's how much Bratz influenced me as a collector. Bratz exposed me to the toy industry in general. I'm not talking about as a toy, but as a business. Bratz was on the rise during the computer age. MGA was one of the only doll companies fully open to suggestions back then. I remember I would email Mattel ideas of mine and would get one of those automated responses telling me, you know, thank you for your ideas, but we don't take ideas. Basically, that's what they said. You know, I only got one real response from them, and it was pretty rude, okay? MGA always responded in a very thoughtful and engaging way, you know, and the things I asked for at my age, they delivered. I think after I heard Bratz was releasing a CD in Japan in 2003, I asked for MGA to get a CD created for worldwide release. Shortly after, Bratz's Who We Are and Bratz Rock Angels was released. When Bratz had a show released in Japan to tie in with the CD, I asked for the Bratz movies and shows, and I got it shortly after. I wouldn't say my emails made a difference, but by seeing the results, it made me feel like my opinions mattered, you know? I realized my own fan power in shaping the success of my favorite brand, and I brought this fandom power into many other fandoms. I also realized harsh truths about the doll industry through the Bratz. I think the Bratz business is the only one I follow closely. I've seen how a doll line could rival another doll line in sales. I saw how that impacted the direction of toy brands. All of this at age 11 to 17. I began to see the difference in companies. When I was a little kid, companies didn't matter. I didn't know Amazing Amy, American Girl, and Barbie were even from different companies. They were just toys. But after getting into Bratz, I realized the difference. I learned the legal system that works around toys as well, because that Carter Bryant fiasco with MGA Entertainment and Mattel, I realized, not only is the industry cutthroat, but the legalities around it. You can create something, it doesn't mean it's yours. If you sell it or you get it produced by someone else, you might be selling out your vision, your creation. So it made me business smart, okay, at a very young age. It made me business smart. Bratz has taught me so many valuable lessons about toys in general, like beyond just playtime. While American Girl inspired the career I'm in now, Bratz is inspiring my future goals. Every time I see a Bratz doll, I feel inspired to get creative. The amount of detail and coolness that goes into Bratz draws out a lot of ideas in my mind. Bratz has even inspired my sense of fashion and developed my social identity. I think I told followers that I was raised in a very super feminine home. It was so suffocating. I couldn't slouch, spill messes, or accidentally ruffle an ounce of my attire. I used to hate fashion and femininity because of how I was raised. When I first saw the Bratz, and this may not be anyone else's experience, but I saw girls in baggy pants, beanies, bandanas, and sneakers. The dolls were wearing a diverse range of styles. They didn't fit into one feminine box. Sure, some wore skirts, but they could throw on a denim jacket and sneakers in a heartbeat. That had an impression on me. I finally felt I found a doll brand that represented someone like me. Later on, Bratz tried many outrageous styles, which helped me explore all possibilities in fashion, even other forms of art. I had developed an interest in cutting-edge and avant-garde fashion, and I really began taking a liking to androgynous fashion. As a youth, the Bratz produced an image that encouraged me to be my individual self. They helped me explore my identity. Bratz has developed me into an adult that is willing to take risks, stand in my truth, and explore my options. I believe these were the last dolls that truly inspired me. Bratz has changed my whole world vision. Bratz set the bar for this century, okay? For all new dolls, I'm looking for a spirit of individuality, style, and innovation. In fact, I take that attitude with anything I do. Well, that's my list of dolls that have had an impact on who I am today. Leave me a comment and let me know of any dolls or other toys that influenced you in your youth. What do you think of my list? Let's get this discussion rolling. Ciao. Peace.